All right, we're here. This is the first episode, Journey of an Entrepreneur. Just get started. I'm here with my co-founder, business partner, lifelong friend, Karlin Humphrey.
Yes, sir. Oh,
And
I like that intro. You can keep going, you can keep
this guy. All right,
saying.
so we're just gonna jump right into it. About entrepreneurship. If you just want to be an entrepreneur, thinking about it. This series is going to be talking about our journey, our continuous journey, and how we got started, where we're at now, and how things are going. So, Carlin, what got you a little bit interested in entrepreneurship? And I'll follow up on what got me into it after.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've known me for a long time. I've always been a person that's wanted one of the best things in life. I mean, growing up, I was a risk taker. I was always willing to, go for it all. And I think what really drove me to it is I came from middle class family. I never, struggled, too much, but I always felt like I could have more than what I should have. And seeing how hard my mother worked as well, she was an engineer. She worked 30 years, 35 years and it's still working actually, for one of the leading oil companies, Shell. And just seeing how hard she worked every day, waking up at 5 in the morning, driving an hour and a half to get to work, and still being just middle class, it kind of drove me to wanting to not necessarily go down that route, but to be something just more than having to wake up for a 9 to 5 every day and living my life like that. So I went to school, University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns, went into business, or to business school, and yeah, it kind of just led off from there, and really just trying to get this thing going. So yeah, I mean that's just a little bit about my journey so far. So I'll pass it back to you, Ty, and
All
let you share
right.
your story.
So the reason I fell in love with entrepreneurship is my mom's an entrepreneur. She's been doing hair for probably almost 30 years now. So we moved to Texas and she had a business from where we were in Massachusetts and she had to start completely over from zero scratch. And so we got to Texas and I was out there handing out flyers at the mall trying to get her clients and stuff. And, she would be scraping change for groceries and she built her business from the ground up and is very successful. And that's like my first taste of business. I went to school for healthcare administration, kinesiology, wellness management, then healthcare administration. And now I'm working on my doctorates. I have a year left of that, but thank you, thank you. But going through school, you realize that you work hard to get good grades and stuff, and then you get a job and it's not what you think it's going to be. So
Amen.
yeah, so
Amen.
so you're working all these hours, you're doing your best, but if you're always working hourly, you're trading your time for money. Everybody says that you're, trading your time for money. With a business and entrepreneurship, if you do it the right way with systems, you're able to buy back your time and do different things. So that's what I uh, really wanted to do is buy back my time, help my family out. And so that's my journey into entrepreneurship. So, um, a little about getting started as an entrepreneur. So, me and Carlin, we had different businesses that we tried, and for some reason they failed. And so, this business we're doing now, Dash Wellness, we're like super committed. We've been working on it for almost 2 years. And the hardest part is to start. And so, Karlin, get your feedback and your thoughts on just starting, the processes of starting and things like that.
Well, where do I start with that? I mean, yeah. No, I mean, yes, you're so right. The getting starting part is the toughest thing to do because it's like, not to say it again, but where do you start? Like, how do you formulate a business? What do you need? Who are you supposed to, contact? And so it took a lot of research just to figure out, okay, what like legal documents do you need to fill out, and like what are the rules, criterias, what am I able to sell, what I'm not able to sell. Basically, and even before all of that, it's just figuring out what your idea is, right? I mean, you may want to be an entrepreneur, but what do you want to sell? What do you have to give, right? And so just coming up and formulating a plan for that is very hard because, yes, you could say I want to make a lot of money, but yeah, it's easy to say those things, very hard to put it into place. And at the same time, just trying to figure out like what what will motivate me to continue, doing this thing. Because a lot of people try to start, but then they just end up fizzling out because it gets too hard and they don't have the motivation to keep going forward. So I think, one of the things that I've learned for myself, and Ty, you probably, feel the same way, is you can't just start a business that you don't, that you're not really passionate about. You have to have a passion because like you're going to go through hard times, you're going to hit a lot of roadblocks, but if you're not truly 100% into it and being passionate about what you're doing, then you're not going to be able to sustain the your plan that you set for yourself. So Ty, I'll pass it
Yeah,
back to you.
yeah, starting is hard, but just start. Like someone at my job came up to me and was thinking of starting her business, and she'd been talking about it for way past before I knew her for years. And I was telling her like, if you would have started back then, what do you think you would be at this exact moment? So the best time I heard a quote, it said the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. So just get started. Just try to find the cross section between your passion and what you're proficient in, right? And so once you do that, you start doing research and one thing leads to another. Like when me and Karlin and my cousin Palmer, she's not on this call, but when we first started, we didn't have a wellness app. We just were thinking of putting together some plans and stuff on a website and Excel spreadsheets. But one thing piles up after another. And then you look back 6 months or 2 months and you're like, wow, we actually, learned a lot, did a lot, and stuff like that. So just get started. And the next thing we're going to talk about is road bumps. And Carlin kind of touched on this with, how it's hard to keep going when you're not seeing the results you want. So, Carlin, talk about some road bumps that we've been going through. I know we did some beta testing and things, and
Yeah.
a few customers, but then,
Yeah.
out and stuff. So,
Yeah. No, so and I actually want to talk about also like our failures for our other businesses, and a lot of that was attributed to, I think, one, under like we were starting when a lot younger, and
yeah.
we, yeah, we didn't, I know we were both going through a lot of changes, a lot of things that are happening in our lives, and it, a lot of things even outside of just business and trying to figure out the nuances of how to start on the business, you have a lot of life things that pop up. And sometimes it's easy to just say, you know what, I need to focus on this life thing and I can't really put my energy into this. So that's one thing that your brain might want to tell you to give up on this because you have other pressing needs, but it's kind of like understanding in that yes, your first reaction is to do that, but you've got to keep going. You've got to push through, even through the hard times that you're going through, and that it's really tough. It is really tough. But as far as like right now, one of the things for our business dash wellness is you know, I remember when we were starting out and we had a nice plan and we were, going in a traditional fitness, nutrition, mental health, giving personalized plans for people. And then, we saw this new feature come out, a new technology, and we had been working months and months on what we were putting into place. And then we realized, wow, this feature you know that we've just come up with, we're gonna have to go back and redo months of work.
Uh,
And that's very tough to do when you've been putting in hours and hours on end just to say, oh, we're just gonna pivot to this whole new thing. But we all realized that was what was best for the business. And even though it's going to take months and months to, get this thing up and running, it was going to be worth it in the long run. That was a road bump, just saying like, man, I wish we would have done this earlier. But hindsight is always 2020. And you've got to be able to, when you're running a business, to adapt and adjust and be okay with a change on a dime. So I think that was one thing that really stood out for me from where we've been going so far.
yeah. A lot of road bumps early on was trying to find the right people to join us too. That's one thing. So when you're starting a business, you can start it by yourself, but there's always strength in numbers, and you always want to get someone that is good where you're bad, and they're bad where you're good. So finding the right people. I know me and Karlin, we had friends that tried to uh, joined the business and it just wasn't cutting out. So a road bump getting started will be finding the right people to share your ideas and dreams with, because it's really hard to find people that are willing to sacrifice today for future outcomes. So, and trying to find people and convince them, is it's hard because it's hard to convince people and stuff like that. So that's a couple of road bumps you might go through. Again, the pivoting is very, I know we went through a lot of pivots, right? But I think we're like at the point now where we should be done pivoting for the foreseeable future. So that's a thing you'll have to go through. So yeah. Another thing about business. Now I got this from another entrepreneur, Myron Golden. There's four things you have to do to have a successful business, and we're constantly working on that. You have to get leads into your business, because you can have the best product, but if you don't have anybody coming in, it's pointless. So leads, and then conversions, which is what we're trying to really work on, is converted people. And then you have to have continuity plans, which we have, and then you have to have premium value offers, which are high ticket value offers, which we'll get into that in our later stages. But yeah, Karlin, just talk about how the process of, you know, from school business to actual business, what's different? Do they teach you about getting leads, conversions, marketing? A lot of business is marketing, honestly. Once you have like starting out, you're just like okay, what do I do? But once you find out what you need to do, it's all
Yep.
marketing basically.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And going back to my school days, I will just say I loved my school. Macomb School of Business is a great program, top 10 in the country. But there is always a difference between practice and the game, right? They can teach you all the things in a classroom where it's, nice, safe, easy environment. And yes, plenty of textbooks. You read a lot about marketing and professors who have owned businesses. They give their insights, which is all great. Um, but I will say actually going in and executing it when it is in school, there is a vast difference because it's not like a grade on the assignment. It's not necessarily, you know, oh yeah, I got this answer correct, right? This is sometimes you don't know what the issue is, what the real answer is. You gotta keep finding out from failure and trying new things, and so yeah, I will say, I mean, school business versus actual business, that is two very different things. I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm not saying that. Definitely, you do learn a lot, but you also learn from being in the weeds and actually doing this aside from going to school. And because a lot of times professors and everything, they'll give their opinions and feedbacks, and they're very smart people, but not necessarily right all the time, right? And things change, times change. What worked 20, 30 years ago for them may not work in today's modern age. So just making sure that we're staying relevant and what's going on in the world and how technology is changing, how marketing is changing. That's the best way in my opinion, is just to go out there and do it and find out.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first healthcare job was at a private urine toxicology clinic and a lab and a neurology clinic. The building was combined, and I worked in both. And so that was my first healthcare job after I graduated from my master's in healthcare administration. And so from what I learned from the textbook to actual business was like it was mind blowing how different it was and understanding business. So the best thing to do is just start, see what you need to do, research. I'm always educating myself, reading books, listening to speakers on business and marketing and stuff. So if you want to start, it's going to be a journey, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's a difficult journey. That's why it's a lot of risk, but a lot of reward at the end of the day. So, um, Karlin, before we
Yep.
wrap this up, you got any last words for someone trying to start a business?
Yeah, I mean, I think you did an awesome job with this, Ty. And one thing I will say is we both have full-time jobs, and we work, and I think we all realize that we're underpaid for the work that we do, and that's how it is. And even when you get up in levels and you get promoted and move up the ladder, for the work that you're doing, you're still underpaid, no matter what. What you're bringing, the value that you're bringing to the company for wherever you're working at, they're the ones that are really reaping the large profits in the work that you do. So that's just one thing to think about is, yes, you're making a nice salary or whatever, but what you should be making is never what you're going to get if you're working for someone else. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just food for thought.
Yeah. My last thoughts are if you want to start, the first thing is to think about what do you want in life? Do you always want to work 9 to 5 and do that for the rest of your life, 40 years? Some people love to do that, but I work in healthcare and there's doctors that are making way above what everybody makes in the country. They're top 10% of earners, 1% of earners. they're complaining about their salary. So no matter where you go on the level, you're still going to want more. And so if you want to change your life, a lot of people struggle trying to start. The pain of staying the same has to be greater than the pain of changing if you really want to make a change. So just just start. That's the first episode. Just start, see what happens. One thing leads to another, and before you know it, you'll have a business, and then you'll run into another problem. Then you have to then you have to keep going and going. So this was our first episode. And Carly, got any last words before we cut it off?
Hey, this was a great start in and of itself. I'm looking forward to episode two.
All right. Well, until next time, I'll see y'all later. All right, Carlin.
All right, peace, bro.
See ya.